Check, check. 1 2 1 2. Welcome to Dominico Field. This afternoon, it's the London Majors and Toronto Maple Leafs, and we're hoping to get a ball game in today. Rain just on the horizon here, but stopping just for first pitch. Hey, I'm Thomas West alongside Gus Cousins and Jesse Hodges on the mound, delivering the first pitch for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is a guy who's not a pitcher, but he has a lot of baseball experience, and he came here to the Toronto Maple Leafs with the hope of trying to pursue pitching in the late stages of his baseball career. And he gets a shot with a starting spot this afternoon.
He does, and yeah, we're going to talk a lot about his playing career before he came to the IBL. He was a player in the Chicago Cubs system, got up to Double A with them with the Tennessee Smokies, but yeah, he's never pitched. Today's his first start in the IBL. I believe it's his first start overall in general. And for a team like the Maple Leafs that are looking to get some innings primarily and also just get some good innings out of their pitchers, starting Hodges just to see what he has. Can't imagine he'll go too long today. It is his first start after all, but it's an interesting to see a new face on the mound and a guy that they're hoping they will be able to use more and more as the season progresses.
In a battle here with Miles Miller leading things off, batting nearly 400 for the London Majors to start the season. He has been their best batter in terms of average. Doesn't bring a ton of power, has 1 home run this year. Miller takes in the dirt. There was the curveball from Jesse Hodges. Three-two. Chopped on the ground. Right to Jesse Hodges. He'll throw it over to first. And the former third baseman, Jesse Hodges, gets the first out himself.
And it's an important first out. It helps you settle in, right? For a guy like Hodges who has not pitched at this level for quite a while, to have a quick first batter and a bouncer right back to you on the mound as a third baseman, like you just said, he's used to those all the time anyways. So it's a nice first out. It helps you settle in. You get to a full count, first batter, and the last thing you want to do is walk the first guy of the game. So to get that first out there is a big first out for him, just even for his mojo on the mound to start this game.
Jesse Hodges has pitched 1 inning before in the Intercounty Baseball League. It came as part of a blowout game against the Hamilton Cardinals, as this pitch is low. Last time he pitched was on June 2nd. The Maple Leafs lost that game 12-2. He pitched 1 inning and did not allow a base runner. That streak continues by getting the first out here this afternoon.
Yeah, and we've talked about it in weeks past, how desperate this team has been for pitching and guys to eat innings. And to have a guy like Hodges, if he can get through 2 or 3 innings, that'll be a major win for a team that's had to use their bullpen a lot.
This one's skied in the air pretty deep to left field. Yuichi Ishihara goes back, now tracks over and makes the catch. Took about 3 hard steps to his left before catching that baseball. And quickly 2 away here for Jesse Hodges. Yeah, the Toronto Maple Leafs need Jesse Hodges right now. They need some pitching, and if Jesse Hodges can end up being that guy that can step into their bullpen or maybe even in this starting role, they need it. They only have one pitcher right now that has an ERA under 5, and their team ERA up over 7.6.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking about when the team first got, their import Alvarado the other day. He went 6 innings last game, and that was a guy who we thought would be, turn into a major dominant force out of the bullpen for this team as their closer. And now look at him, he's starting games. So the entire pitching staff has done a full 180 on this team since the season began.
Lined right back to Jesse Hodges. It deflects off his glove. Lots of time for Jose Vinicio, who flips to first. A 1-2-3 start for Jesse Hodges. He's faced 6 batters in the IBL, and he's retired all of them. Here come the bats for the Toronto Maple Leafs, tied 0-0 as we head to the bottom of the first.
So it should only be about 10 to 15 minutes or so. I just have a few questions.
No problem.
Could you just give a little background or a little bit of context as to what your work is and how it pertains to youth?
Okay, so for the last 35 years, we've been looking at youth gambling issues. What kinds of games young people are playing, what makes gambling interesting for young people, what are some of the risk and protective factors, and I guess I'm trying to think of now when it was. I think it was 2012 we began to work with the NCAA to look at student athletes gambling behaviors and whether or not this was
So Jose Vinicio leading things off for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the pitcher for London this afternoon, Anthony Benitez. And he has only pitched one game in the Intercounty Baseball League this season, and it was against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it didn't start well. As this one's hit on the ground to shortstop, flipped to first to get Jose Vinicio one away, and that's already a much better start than Anthony Benitez had last time against the Toronto Maple Leafs. This game was in London. And it was a game that the London Majors almost came back and won, but they got in a 7-0 hole early against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Anthony Benitez walked the first 4 batters of the game and went on to walk 11 in 2 2/3 innings. So already a better start, and I'm sure that he's just trying to locate the ball because he has good stuff. We know that. Pitches in there for a strike.
Yeah, he does, and he's another guy that is coming over from playing affiliated minor league ball. And, you look up his numbers. We were talking about Hodges earlier and how he was in the Cubs system. Benitez was in the Arizona Diamondbacks system for many years, got up to the Reno Aces, pitched a game with them, and they obviously had to let him go, and now he finds his way to the IBL. But it's another guy in the IBL with pretty good affiliated experience, coming from a team that is very, very competitive, obviously, in the minor leagues of baseball. And so he clearly has the stuff, and that first game was really just a tough one. He was first game in the IBL, kind of what we talked about with Alvarado, too, in his first start. He just couldn't find it. He couldn't find the strike zone. But he's a good arm, and he's one that the London Majors are very happy to have.
Justin Mara at the plate now. Mara swings and misses. Anfree Benitez in his last start gave up 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third. Mara rips it down the line and scatters the London Majors bullpen, which, when you look at 2 runs per inning over nearly 3 innings of work for Benitez, he actually worked himself out of a lot of trouble. He gave up 3 hits and 11 walks and only gave up 6 runs.
Yeah, and that's the positive side of things. Now you look at the negative, which is so many walks. He had 100 pitches by the 3rd inning.
Little tapper's going to be a tough play. Justin Mara will be easily safe at first base, and he has himself an infield hit.
But like you mentioned already, we're seeing him throw so many more strikes to start this game than he did in his first game against the Maple Leafs. And if nothing else, even if he's given up hits, like weak contact like that, that'll go down as a hit. That's a very tough play the third baseman to make. But just the fact that he's locating his pitches, he's finding the strike zone, he's giving his fielders a chance to make the plays. When you're walking 11 guys, your fielders are getting bored. They cannot back you up. When you throw strikes, it allows everybody to play, and it's much easier to have success that way.
The London Majors were on an 8-game losing streak and now have won their last 2 games, and it wasn't an easy fashion. The first one, a 4-0 win against the Welland Jackfish, who are on a 3-game losing streak, believe it or not. And then a close 5-4 win coming last night against the Hamilton Cardinals. Garrett Takamatsu bumped up into the 3-hole this afternoon for the Maple Leafs. He has a runner on first base. Garrett Takamatsu red hot to start the year, batting .474. And if it wasn't for a 1-for-5 outing against the Guelph Royals in the Maple Leafs game last night, which they lost 5-for-4, his batting average would be way over 500. 1-2. Way outside, 2-2.
And the production that you're getting right now from Takamatsu adds even more depth to an already very deep Maple Leafs lineup. That you originally had Castaldo, Salazzo hitting 3-4, now that Takamatsu's hitting 3rd, you bump them down the lineup with Carrington hitting 6th. It's a very, very good lineup.
Takamatsu swings and misses, strike 3, and Anfree Benitez gets his first strikeout of the afternoon. This brings up Jordan Castaldo, who had a rough patch a couple weeks ago, or about a week ago, but he's starting to turn things around. Against Barrie was 1-for-2, and he's back to his usual ways, drawing 2 walks and then 2-for-5. He was the best batter in the lineup against the Guelph Royals. Had a double in last night's affair. 1 on, 2 outs for the Maple Leafs. Jordan Castaldo takes a strike.
Yeah, and when you're in a rut, like Castaldo was for a little bit there, Castaldo, who's known for being very selective at the plate and drawing walks, as much as nothing seems to be working, when you get back to the basics of just taking pitches and drawing walks as well as he does, it's almost like a hard reset for a guy like that, where once you start walking again, you know that you're going to start hitting again, because those things go hand in hand with him. When he walks, that's when he's the best player that he can possibly be, but when he's swinging at pitches outside the strike zone consistently, he's losing his way in terms of how good he is with the approach of taking pitches at the plate.
I think Jordan Castaldo felt like he was running into a little bit of bad luck as well, taking some pitches that he thought were off the plate or maybe a bit high, and instead of it being a walk, he would end up going back to the dugout with a strikeout. Now he's in an 0-2 hole. Benitez pitch inside to Jordan Castaldo. Each and every year, Jordan Castaldo will end up being one of the players with the best eyes in the Intercounty Baseball League. Has a really good perception of where the strike zone is, bolstered by his massive walk numbers from year to year. Benitez trying to get out of the inning. He has a 1-2 count on Jordan Castaldo, and it's in there for a strike. I guess it was actually 2-1. So now a 2-strike count. I was pretty sure we had that right as well. This one's lined over the head of the shortstop into the outfield. Castaldo has a base hit. That's Tommy Reyes Cruz playing out there as short. London Majors have Miles Miller in left field. Andrew Lawrence is playing center. Starling Joseph out there in right. Brad Verhoeven is at third base this afternoon. Tommy Reyes Cruz at short. Brett Graham at second base. And Byron Reichstein at first. Salazzo cracks one down the right field line, but it's foul out of play. John Salazzo tapping the bat to make sure it wasn't broken after that ringing foul ball. Dan Mara is on deck. He's hopeful of an at-bat. John Salazzo trying to tack on to his massive RBI numbers in the Intercounty Baseball League this season. John Salazzo 3 back of the lead, and this is a little pop-up towards the left side. It looks like it might be playable. Verhoeven just in front of the screen makes the catch, and that will get the Maple Leafs out of the inning, and a frustrated John Salazzo still standing at home plate. As the Maple Leafs leave a couple runners on in the first inning, they had 5 runs on 10 hits, and it was, or 4 runs on 10 hits, and it wasn't enough to win, so trying to cash in runners with scoring position as Jesse Hodges is back on the mound. Talk to Jesse Hodges. We know he has a fantastic arm. We talked to Jesse Hodges. We know he has a fantastic arm with that throw we saw from the outfield from left field. He has pitched a little bit, and I know you're wondering about how this pitching transition is going for Jesse Hodges. So let's look at the 3 main things that I got to talk to Jesse Hodges about. Can he bring it? Does he throw hard? And does he have a decent curveball? Jesse?
I always told myself if I couldn't make it as a hitter, I'd pitch. And I always knew I could pitch a little bit, so I'm just going to get on the mound and bring it. I throw hard and got a decent curveball, so let's see what happens.
Beauty. Thank you, Jesse. That was a great clip there from Jesse Hodges as well. And I think that kind of encapsulates the attitude that Jesse Hodges has going into this whole pitching thing he's trying to do as well. Just lighthearted, trying to keep it loose out there on the mound. And he looks good so far. 1-2-3 first inning. Now he's got to face an IBL legend in Cleveland Brownlee who fists one up the middle. And that'll be the first hit allowed by Jesse Hodges. And it comes to a guy with a whole lot of hits in Cleveland Brownlee. So a base runner with nobody out for the Royals. Tommy Reyes Cruz spending a bunch of time in the 2-hole this year for the London Majors. Now back to batting 5th, hitting an even .300 on the season.
Another really good offensive team, and we say that every week, but it's another really good offensive team that the Maple Leafs will be playing so the London Majors. And look at up and down the lineup, their stats, not even just their average, but the power numbers, their walking numbers. They don't strike out a whole ton. It's another really, really good team, and the Leafs know that from the playoffs the last 2 years.
Yeah, they've been bolstered recently by some really good pitching. Owen Boone shutting out the Welland Jackfish over 7 innings. This one's lined into the outfield. That one's going to get down. It actually might have been a broken bat. Fielded out there by Greg Carrington. He gets it in, and the Majors have something going now, and they bring a dangerous power threat to the plate in Starling Joseph.
And as we've seen through these first 5 batters with Jesse Hodges, what he's going to have to do if he wants to succeed on the mound is pitch to contact, pitch to soft contact, which is what he did in the first inning, and now, 2 line drive singles here in the second. But he's not going to strike a ton of people out. He's going to pitch to get ground balls and fly balls, and as long as he can do soft contact, he's going to succeed.
Into the outfield, falls in front of J.J. Dutton. They might have a play at third base, nearly getting Cleveland Brownlee on the force out, but he hustles into third with a slide. And the bases are loaded with nobody out for Andrew Lawrence.
And as soon as I say that, of course, another line drive single to the outfield. It's not detrimental to give up a lot of hard contact like that, because so far it's been relatively kept in front of people. 3 singles in this inning, a couple, a line drive up the middle that hit off of him in the first inning, that went right to Benicio, and they got the out there. But if he wants to succeed, he's going to have to keep soft contact. That's the only way that, especially against a lineup like this, that puts the ball in play and they do it very well. It's got to be soft.
Pitch to Lawrence is in there for a strike. This guy hits a ton of singles. Played in 13 games this season, just 1 extra base hit, but he's hitting .306. Here's the 0-1 from Hodges. Just missed outside. 1-1. This is Lawrence's second year in the Intercounty Baseball League. It's the 1-1. This one's hit on the ground to shortstop. Jose Vinicio is going to come home with it, and it's an easy out at the plate. Justin Mara not sure if he had his foot on the base, so he puts the tag on Cleveland Brownlee, and that was an interesting play there by Jose Vinicio, because with Cleveland Brownlee running from third to home, that was easily the best play that he had, knowing he wasn't going to be able to turn 2.
It was, and it took a funny hop off the grass there. Originally, had it been hit a little bit harder, they would have easily turned 2 and taken the run, but got the 2 outs. But knowing your runner is a very important thing, especially in that case with Brownlee.
Verhoeven lines one to first. Costello steps on the bag, throws home. They got him. The Maple Leafs turn the double play. Jesse Hodges gets out of bases loaded with nobody out, and it's 0-0 as we head to the bottom of the second. Dan Mara will lead things off for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Anthony Benitez had a pretty good first inning, had a couple runners on base. The Maple Leafs failed to cash in. The biggest story of this game so far is Jesse Hodges stranding the bases loaded with nobody out in the top of the second inning as Dan Mara takes a pitch outside.
Yeah, it was, again, he induced soft contact. He did exactly what he had to do. A grounder to short to Vinicio to get the force out with Brownlee running. And then in the double play there.
Line drive. That one hops over Tommy Reyes Cruz, but he was going to have to make a heck of a play. And a sharp hit single for Dan Mara to lead off the second.
And then Castaldo made a really good play at first base, stepping on the bag to get the second out, and then with plenty of time, throwing a strike to Mara at home plate to tag the runner to get the third out. That's exactly how you want to deal with that situation. I mean, you don't want to find yourself in it to begin with, but two ground balls right at your infielders, and they'll make plays like that. This is what we talked about with Benitez wanting to throw strikes to help his team. With the Maple Leafs, it's just putting the balls in play too.
Here's a bunt fielded by Benitez. He throws to first, and he underhanded the ball, and everyone's safe. Greg Carrington gets on with what might be charged as an error on the pitcher. But he had, even after dropping it, he had lots of time to throw the ball to first. The Maple Leafs will take it, though. They have runners on first and second with nobody out, and here's J.J. Dutton. He's batting in the 8th spot.
It looks like he just kind of misjudged how much time he thought he had, whether he misjudged the speed of Greg Carrington or how far he had to chuck the ball to first base there. But he had plenty of time to just spin and fire it, and he would have got Carrington.
Pitch is outside. I guess it would have been close at first base. J.J. Dutton still hitting a .348 on the season, and that was a nasty breaking ball. Dutton got a piece of it, but it also got a pretty significant piece of Ruiz behind the plate. And if I had to guess, I think that just caught him in a sensitive area.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm honestly shocked that it doesn't happen more with catchers around. You wear all that padding, but you got these guys throwing very hard, mixing the foul tips, the foul offs, coming right at you, and you're never going to be fully protected against these things no matter how good you are as a catcher. And whether it gets you right in the back, I have a feeling that probably got him up near the top of his leg where it's not protected, but
well,
I'm genuinely shocked. I will never not be shocked in any league anywhere that the catchers do not get injured more often than they do, just because of how close they are and how fast the pitches are coming in.
Well, we have a moment here. Here's that underhand toss to first base. Wasn't very insightful, was it? This one's lined over the head of the second baseman, Graham. They're going to wave Dan Mara to the plate. The throw is offline. It took a funny hop off the grass as well. In fact, the throw was well in the air from Starlin Joseph. And the Maple Leafs get the first run of the ball game on a J.J. Dutton RBI single.
And originally there, the runners had to hold up. They weren't sure if that was going to get over the head of second baseman Brett Graham or not, and obviously it did. Carrington scootering into third base. But a good piece of hitting, taking the ball the other way and lining one over the second baseman's head. And the fact that Carrington was able to get to third there after he originally had to hold up, ball just died in the outfield with the wet grass out there.
Yeah.
And the Maple Leafs have something cooking.
That was a really good send there by Rob Butler at third base. He had a good read on it. There goes J.J. Dutton. Huge jump to second base. There's no throw. Yoichi Ishihara took a pitch down the middle, knowing J.J. Dutton was clearly going to have second base, and with nobody out and a guy who can put the bat on the ball very well in Yoichi Ishihara, the Maple Leafs have a lot more potential out of this inning. Pitch outside to Ishihara. So another thing that I was wondering about, and I got a chance to ask Yoichi before the game about this, was he pitched in a blowout game at Christie Pitts here a couple days ago. Or I guess it would have been on Wednesday. And we had no idea whether he was a pitcher or if he wasn't a pitcher, if this was a position player pitching kind of thing. But I asked him, and he said yes, he is a pitcher. He has lots of experience pitching, which we thought made a lot of sense because he looked really good out there on the mound for the Maple Leafs. So I almost wonder if maybe Ishihara comes in and pitches a little bit more after that outing.
Yeah, he did look good. It was one of the few bright spots in that game where it was close for a little bit, but then it got out of hand very quickly. And, you know, we talked about it with Hodges, and again to an extent with Ishihara, having guys that are able to hit and pitch is a very valuable set of skills in this league, as Ishihara takes ball 4. When you can have those guys who can eat innings, sure, even if they're in blowout games, it saves your bullpen arms, it saves starters, you know, it saves guys like Alvarado, who you don't want to bring in those games, in those situations, and to have guys who can have success like that, it'll help you out tons down the line when you can turn to them for an inning or two.
Maple Leafs need to find some pitching. That's become an issue over the last couple games. The issue was not as big and also was compounded a lot by the fact that the Maple Leafs were scoring so many runs that pitching just didn't even matter when they were scoring 12 to 17 runs a game. But now runs are becoming tough to come by, and it feels like almost every team in the Intercounty Baseball League is starting to kind of tighten up their shoelaces just a little bit. And even the Guelph Royals, who have had not a good start to this season, put up a big fight against the Toronto Maple Leafs and beat them last night. Here's a fly ball by Jose Vinicio. This is pretty deep towards the wall. Catch is made. This will be a sacrifice fly for Jose Vinicio as the throw comes in, and it's 2-0 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that ball that Vinicio just went out and hooked was about 3 feet from getting over the wall for Vinicio. Pitches in the dirt here to Justin Mara.
Yeah, and when you were talking about at the start of the season when the team was scoring so many runs that the pitching didn't really matter, and I hate to say that, but the offense was so gifted early on that you didn't need to have a great start. You could throw 5 innings of 5 runs, and the offense was so good.
Line drive up the middle. This is going to cash in another run. Ishihara up to second. J.J. Dutton scores, and it's 3-0 Toronto Maple Leafs. Justin Mara with an RBI single.
But the offense was so good that you didn't have to be perfect on the mound. And, you know, a good example of that was the plague of Drew Hutchison with the Blue Jays all those years ago, where he led the team in wins, but he was not a good pitcher on the mound. Because the offense was so good that every time he went out there, they would score a gazillion runs, and it wouldn't really matter how good or poorly he pitched. And that's how it was early on in the season.
Garrett Takamatsu struck out in his first at-bat. Oh, 0-1. Hit on the ground, and it finds a hole through Tommy Reyes-Cruz. Ishihara is being sent home. He'll score without a throw, and the Maple Leafs lead 4-0. Garrett Takamatsu extends the lead for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that ball might have been playable for Tommy Reyes-Cruz, but it definitely will go down as a single.
And the first 2 innings of this game, they look a lot more like the Maple Leafs of old that we were just talking about at the beginning of the season. Not hitting a ton of home runs, not hitting a ton of power, but line drive singles up the middle, through each side, taking the ball the other way, taking what the London Majors are giving you, and suddenly it's 4-0 very quickly.
Jordan Castaldo just got hit on the leg, and he's limping right now because I am pretty sure that he slid into second base in yesterday's game, and he cut his leg right there on the shin, and I think that might have just hit him right in the place that he cut his leg, and he's feeling it walking down to first base. That did not feel good. He might have just got hit right on a bruise. Robin Fox Pappas is over there as the first base coach this afternoon. So the bases are loaded. John Salazzo's at the plate. He's 3 RBIs away from the Intercounty Baseball League lead. Takes a pitch right down the middle for strike 1. Salazzo leads the IBL in home runs with 8. Raul Gonzalez has 6 on the year, but he has 30 RBIs.
He's been terrific for the Kitchener Panthers. Gonzalez has been one of the stories of the season for the IBL this year. He's been tremendous offensively.
Salazzo, big chopper foul down the first base line. Behind on the count 1-2.
Player of the month, first month, his rookie season, Raul Gonzalez for the Panthers. We saw him play here earlier on, and just terrific. He's, from what I've seen this season, one of the best, if not the best, imports for any IBL team.
John Salazzo gets rung up on a pitch over the inside corner. Now there's 2 away. The Maple Leafs would love to cash in some more runs while they have them sitting out there on the base path. Dan Morrow had a hard-hit single to left field in his first at-bat. Maple Leafs would take another one of those right now. Pitch down and away.
And as much as we talked about Benitez's struggles last time out where he couldn't throw a strike, it's been the polar opposite today. Today he's thrown almost too many strikes. The Maple Leafs are hitting him everywhere, all over the ballpark. And he hit Castaldo there, and I believe he's had 1 or 2 walks this game. But that has not been the problem at all for him today. So he's sorted that part out. Now it's just he's getting hit around by a good offensive team in the Maple Leafs.
Dan Mara takes a strike. Bases loaded here for the Maple Leafs. Mara takes another breaking ball in there for a strike. Two. This one's hit on the ground to second base, fielded by Graham. Throw to first, that'll end the inning. The Toronto Maple Leafs put up 4. They lead 4-0 over London Majors as we head to the 3rd inning here at Dominico Field. Oh, big bottom of the second inning for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They'd put up 4 runs, just string a bunch of hits together. And now Jesse Hodges has himself a 4-run lead. Got himself out of a big jam last inning, and he delivers a hard fastball in there for a strike. Jesse Hodges has a really good arm. We know that because he played a lot of third base, and that's a long throw across the diamond. So he has the speed on his pitches, and he says that he's got a pretty good curveball as well. So we'll see how that plays. It's playing pretty well so far. I guess the only question for Jesse Hodges is, can he locate the fastball? This one's way up and away.
Yeah, and you talk about having an arm as a third baseman, and there's a reason why so many, especially younger kids, start at third base or start at catcher and they go to the mound. Or vice versa, you're a catcher and then you head over to third base. In the case of Jesse Hodges, originally, it's to build up that arm strength behind the plate or at third base thrown across the diamond, and then you can play pretty much anywhere in terms of your arm strength.
So apologies for the technical issues there on our audio. I think we've got it sorted out now. Ruiz has just fouled a ball right off himself at home plate, and he's down in a heap in front of the plate. London Majors have one on with one out, and Eduardo Deolio is not in the lineup today for the London Majors. I'm not sure whether or not they have him available.
And this is, of course, Chris Ruiz, who we were talking about in the last half inning, took a foul ball right off the leg, and he crumpled behind home plate when he was catching. Originally listed as an outfielder on their roster, but getting the start behind the plate today. And yeah, it's a good point you make, whether Edward Deolio is available. I haven't seen him down there today, but could be just a day off for him. He's their starting catcher. He's caught a lot this season for the London Majors. But Ruiz trying to walk it off behind the plate there. But before that, again, Hodges inducing weak contact, a grounder to second Amara. That's how they got their one out, an attempt to double play, and the ball was thrown away past Castaldo at first base. But again, weak contact, and it almost resulted in it being a double play. He's done a very good job at working out of trouble so far, utilizing his ability to get the ground ball from these London Majors.
I'm not sure that the London Majors have another catcher on the roster today.
Which is very, very risky. It's a very risky proposition to come with only one catcher, especially to an away game. And Ruiz has now been beaten up twice in 2 innings. You're fouling one off his own leg and then taking a foul ball behind the plate last inning.
I mean, obviously there would be someone who would be able to come in and catch, but in the top of the 3rd inning, that's not something that you would want to go to. Let's see how he fares here. Hits the ball on the ground, and he is still really hobbling. He's almost walking to the dugout.
Yeah, it's not a position that he or the London Majors want to find themselves in, with the majority of the game still to go, and presumably Edward Deolio not available.
I don't see him down there in the dugout, so. "3-2, runner goes. This one's hit on the ground. They'll stay out of the double play and more. Ruiz hobbling down to first base. Runner coming to third, and he's going to score as well. The ball gets past Yuichi Ishihara. And the London Majors take the lead on a misplayed ball out there in left field by Ishihara. But the runner in motion put a ton of pressure on the defense, and it ends up paying off. And Ruiz is now down at first base, and I don't think he wants to stay in this game. He's really feeling it.
I mean, if his last act of the day is putting the London Majors on the board, they're now down 4-1. And the ball is just a liner in a left field. The grass is wet out there, and it just skipped by Yoichi Ishihara, allowing the run to score. But yeah, the fact that it went by the left fielder Ishihara and he didn't even try to consider going to second base there as the runner rounded third and came home. I think it's fair to say that he probably won't be stealing a base anytime soon.
Pitch is up and in.
But you're right. At this point, you'd have to think that if they had another starting caliber catcher on the roster, that he'd be in. Because Ruiz is still feeling it down there. Like, there's no legitimate reason why you would want to keep him in this game unless you're thin enough and you really don't want to go to whoever your third string catcher may be.
Chopped foul once again. This is Byron Reichstein, the first baseman. Jesse Hodges is on the mound and he's throwing strikes. 26 strikes, 17 balls. Hasn't walked a batter yet. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Second IBL strikeout for Jesse Hodges in the first this afternoon. Keep in mind as well, it was raining before the game started, just a drizzle, but that grass out there in the outfield is very wet. It's probably very wet on the infield as well, so that's not making things any easier on the infielders and especially the outfielders playing out there. Cleveland Brownlee at the plate. He dished a single into center field in his last at-bat.
And we just saw it there with the base hits and left, but the wet grass was a contributing factor to the Leafs' first run of the game when Butler sent the runner around third base. The throw was up the third base line coming in from the right fielder of London when the first run was scored, and you got to think, all things taken into account, it would have been a close play anyways, but the ball is slippery. It's not hit right at you. And at least 2 runs this game so far have been a major factor of the wet grass.
Check swing, and Cleveland Brownlee arguing, but the first base umpire made the call like it wasn't even close, calling a swing. Brownlee's hit in his first at-bat this afternoon took him out of a bit of a slump. He was hitless in his last 3 games for the London Majors. Takes outside 2-2, batting just .220 on the season with the hit this game, but still bringing the power numbers. He has 4 home runs. 2-2. This one's popped straight up. Dan Mara is calling for it on the infield. He's under it. He makes the catch, and the Maple Leafs are out of the inning, but the London Majors scratch a home 1 run, and it brought themselves within 3. 4-1 Toronto Maple Leafs. (4-1) Toronto Maple Leafs over to London Majors. Anthony Benitez back on the mound. He'll face Greg Carrington. Carrington swings and misses. Then takes a strike behind on the count 1-2. The control for Anthony Benitez is on a whole nother level now in this start for the London Majors. Carrington hits one in the air pretty well. Deep to right field, but it's going to hang up. And it was actually deceiving off the bat. Carrington might have caught it off the end of the bat a little bit as it ended up being a relatively deep fly ball.
Yeah, Benitez has been a totally different pitcher this game than the last time we saw him play. His command has been a lot better. He's thrown a lot more strikes. Sure, he's given up a couple runs and he's gotten hit around a little bit. But if you're the London Majors, your main problem with him was the control. And it's a major win that he's been able to get that under control. No pun intended. But it's been a much different pitcher than we've seen the last time out for the London Majors. And on the flip side, Jesse Hodges has pitched really well through 3 innings in his first start.
Wouldn't that be a nice little bonus for the Maple Leafs if he could end up slotting in somewhere in their pitching rotation? J.J. Dutton at the plate, 1-1. Dutton hits it well, but foul down the left field line.
Yeah, if Hodges can keep his command, which is what he's done very well so far this game, and again, inducing soft contact, he's looked very good. It's just his first start. Obviously, there's the factor of the London Majors have not seen him before. Nobody's really seen him before. So that has something to do with it, too. You have no basis for how he pitches. But overall, considering it is his first start, and we were watching him warm up in the bullpen and seeing, what he was working on down there, too, he looks like a veteran in the league. He looks like he knows how to pitch out there, and he's done through 9 outs. He's done very well.
J.J. Dutton's 1-for-1, had an RBI single in his last at-bat. Full count pitch, outside ball 4. Dutton also stole second base, so he will be a threat to run over there at first.
And I wouldn't be shocked at all here if the Maple Leafs decided either on the first or second pitch to send Dutton again. I mean, he's a fast guy. He's a good base runner to begin with. But you take into the fact that, the London catcher there behind the plate, Ruiz, is banged up enough as he is. And if you can start running on him and you can take advantage of the run game that way, and I don't want to say get free 90 feet, but it depends how well he can throw. If he can't get his body into it, his lower legs at least, the speed demons on this team are going to have a field day with it. And Dutton is one of those guys.
That's a good point. That is something to watch. See if the Maple Leafs test it. Leafs trying to tack on some more runs and turn things over to the top of the order, and this one's cued foul down the right field line by Ishihara. Jose Venicio's on deck, then Justin Mara.
And the other aspect of that, which we already saw, Greg Carrington laying down a bunt. We've seen Anthony Benitez have trouble getting off the mound and getting to those balls. And with Chris Ruiz behind the plate, not the most mobile catcher in the world right now, that if you put down even a decent bunt down the first or third base line, you don't have 2 really good defenders there coming to get the ball. So a speedy guy like Carrington, Dutton, those guys, Ishihara.
And he lines one right through the legs of Byron Reichstein. And J.J. Dutton's going to move up to third base. First and third, the top of the order coming up for the Maple Leafs.
And that ball was just ripped right down the first baseline. Right between the legs of Reichstein. But it was such a hard hit ball, and it skidded after it hit that first bounce. Again, we've talked about the wet grass. That ball skids. If you one hop it, it's going to pick up speed and it's going to go. And that's what we just saw right there. And now it's first and third with one out for Jose Vinicio, and it's the top of the lineup back again for the Maple Leafs.
They've scored it as a single for Ishihara. He's officially 1 for 1.
Rightfully so.
Jose Vinicio is 0 for 1, but he cashed in an RBI with a sacrifice fly in his last at-bat. Now already getting his 3rd AB of the afternoon. First pitch of ball, now here's the 1-0. Vinicio just missed as he chops it foul.
And that sacrifice fly earlier on in the game, 5 feet further, and it would have been a grand slam for Vinicio.
Yeah.
It was very close. It took him right to the warning track in right field, and
Well, Greg Carrington just hit a fly ball that looked like it was going to go further than Jose Vinicio's did, so it was a bit deceptive coming off the bat.
yeah.
Vinicio puts the bat on it, hits it to left field, it hangs up. J.J. Dutton fakes to come home, and it's a good thing. Oh, actually, he should have in the end. The throw is right on the money, but it still gets by Ruiz on a tough one-hop. I was just about to say that it was a perfect throw to home plate, but it might have taken a tough hop off the gravel, and I don't think J.J. Dutton had any business coming home on that shallow of a fly ball. But
No, and you got to know who's coming up, right? It's 2, 3, 4. You have Mara and then Takamatsu, both guys who can easily keep the going here with inning going, I should say, with base hits. There's no real need to test it there.
Justin Mara is 2nd in the Intercounty Baseball League in home runs. He now has 7. Ishihara goes. Here's the throw down to second base. Pretty good one, but the speed of Ishihara just beats it down there. You know, we don't have the same camera placement that we have in the last couple days on the broadcast today because of the rain here at Dominico Field. So we just have a base of cameras all coming from underneath the tent. But if you're new here to Maple Leafs, we've introduced a new camera, and we call it the Vonacam because Rob Vona is the guy who operates it. And it's on fire to start out the ball game. Just a whole nother tool in the tool bank here at Maple Leafs baseball. Pitches in the dirt.
We are a team of creatives up here. We make things work.
Oh. Yeah, I guess so.
We try. We do our best. Until the audio fails, and then it's butterfly effect of madness. But most of the time, it's pretty okay.
It's basically just sitting at a table in a rat's nest of wires. Throw back to third. J.J. Dutton gets back. Chris Ruiz trying to catch J.J. Dutton napping, but he alertly gets back to the bag. Anthony Benitez is in some trouble here, but could be just one pitch away from getting out of the inning, but it's a hitter's count for Justin Mara. 3-1. And it's in there for a strike. The Toronto Maple Leafs, almost every time they're playing here at Dominico Field, see a steady diet of lefties, and it's because of the guys like Justin Mara and Jordan Castaldo and John Salazzo. This one's inside, though, to Justin Mara, so he'll head down to first base. Ruiz has framed that ball for about 11 seconds, thinking that it might have caught the inside corner. I'm sure the home plate umpire didn't really appreciate that.
No, and the topic of left-handed pitchers, left-handed starters against the Maple Leafs is one we've covered before. We talked about it today with Anthony Benitez. We talked about it twice so far this season with Adam Jaffine, among others. Clearly, teams come in here knowing the left-handed steadiness of the Maple Leafs, and it's their game plan.
Hit hard on the ground. Nice stop there by Tommy Reyes-Cruz. He flips to second, and Anthony Benitez escapes trouble once again. 4-1 Toronto Maple Leafs. They failed to score with the bases loaded in the bottom of the third, and the London Majors trying to capitalize on that. Their bats are coming up. Tommy Reyes-Cruz recorded the final out to get Anthony Benitez out of a bases-loaded situation. He comes to the plate now, facing Jesse Hodges, who's in his fourth inning of work. Jesse Hodges is still yet to walk a batter today, and he's going to get another easy one right back to the mound. Flip to first. Reyes-Cruz is retired, one away.
And that's twice now. Weak choppers right back to the mound for Hodges, and then a third one, it went over his head. And then he got drilled with one as well. He's getting a ton of action out there. You talk about being an infielder on the mound. We have an infielder on the mound. It's very helpful when a pitcher can field his position, and Hodges has done just that admirably today.
And he's been efficient. He's thrown 50 pitches here in the fourth inning, and if he could get out of this quickly, which might be a lot to ask here with Starling Joseph at the plate, as that fastball just hit the backside there of Starling Joseph, and he'll head right down to first base and won't go down as a base on balls, but it'll be the first walk that Jesse Hodges has allowed today.
Yeah, and overall his command has been very, very good. We've seen him hit two guys now, but it's just pitches slipping out of his hand, and you've seen his reactions on the mound. He knows what he's doing, and he adjusts, but he's still been very good.
Hodges would love to get a ground ball here with Andrew Lawrence at the plate. Lawrence will put the ball in play. 36 at-bats, only 3 strikeouts on the season. He's also only walked 4 times. Almost a right-handed Jose Vinicio at the plate for the Maple Leafs, as that one's just inside. 2-1 now on Lawrence.
Yeah, and it's not a bad matchup for Hodges in the sense that these guys put the ball in play, and Hodges wants you to put the ball in play. They don't walk a lot. Hodges doesn't walk a lot, at least not so far. As we see his first pickoff move to first base there.
It was on the money. You know what? That's the secondary one I hear.
Yeah, that's the B move right there. You just wait till we see the A move. No one wants to see that.
I honestly, we don't know. He could be. I wouldn't put it past him. Jesse Hodges seems like a pretty crafty guy as he delivers a strike to Andrew Lawrence.
Everything's a B move until you pick a guy off, and that's the A move.
That's the A
Everything
move.
else is the B move.
2-2. Here it comes. And it's hit on the ground. Castaldo fields it, and he's just going to step on the bag himself. And, yeah, Jesse Hodges didn't budge from the mound there. As I believe that would have been his first base to cover. Either way, the Maple Leafs get an out, and Jesse Hodges is now 1 out away.
Yeah, and there's no reason to tempt fate there by throwing it, right? We've talked about the grass being wet, thus the ball being wet when it's a grounder to Castaldo. There you're up 4-1. There's already an out. Take the out at first. You risk throwing it away into left field. If you try and gun one there, you're not turning two anyways. Lawrence is too fast, but it was the right play there by Jordan Castaldo.
Brad Verhoeven, the third baseman, is at the plate. Jesse Hodges trying to get out of the inning.
I think so.
I know so.
0-1. Chopper 0-2.
And you talk about efficiency with Jesse Hodges. The amount of guys that he's gotten ahead of early on in counts today has been impressive. That's been one of his better traits. He's gotten ahead 0-1, 0-2, 1-2. He's not falling behind guys, and that's why he's getting so much soft contact to the infield, is guys are having to fight back and battle it off. When you're down 2 strikes or down 1-2, that ain't a hitter's count you want to be in, and you're just trying to fight pitches off, and with Hodges throwing strikes, you get weak grounders like that, hit right at guys. You do not get the swings that you want to swing. And this is where we're at in the 4th inning with Hodges looking tremendous out there. He's getting ahead of guys. It's the first major battle when you face a hitter.
Up and in, 1-2. Jesse Hodges was reaching back for a little extra there on the high fastball. One, two. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
And there's the curveball.
Jesse Hodges is through 4 innings. He throws hard, he's got a decent curveball, and he's bringing it on the mound for the Toronto Maple Leafs as they take the lead to the bottom of the 4th. Jordan Castaldo will lead things off for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've had multiple base runners in every inning. They've scratched across 4 runs. All of those came in the same inning in the second. Castaldo pops one straight up. This one looks like it's going to stay in play. Verhoeven is in foul territory, and he makes the catch for the first out of the inning. John Salazzo swings and misses at the first pitch.
And I know I've already benched it, but this must be, in the eyes of the London Majors, just a terrific second start for Anthony Benitez. Just everything that he's shown. The runs are a side effect of being hit around a little bit, but he's looked so much better than what he did in his first outing. It's a really good sign for a Majors team that is also in need of quality pitching.
2-1 now on Salazzo. Dan Mara is on deck. Anthony Benitez delivers, and that's fouled off 2-2. Yeah, this might be a project with Anthony Benitez, trying to take it one step at a time, get better and better with each start. It's kind of a similar project that the Toronto Maple Leafs having going with Dan Procopio, who looks like he's slowly starting to build his way back. Curveball outside corner, strike 3 called. John Salazzo caught looking on a nasty breaking ball again from Benitez, who's got the first 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th.
And in Dan Procopio's case, I mean, we've seen him start the last couple games here on Sundays for the home games the Maple Leafs have here. And they're switching things up today, obviously. But he had such a good outing against the Brantford Red Sox a couple weeks ago, and then lesser so last weekend. But it's the same idea, just building him up and getting innings as a starter.
Dan Mara hits one in the air. This one's going to hang up in the outfield, right in his tracks. Starling Joseph made the catch, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Anthony Benitez, and he did it efficiently as well. Less than 15 pitches to get the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 4th. We head to the 5th. The Leafs lead 4-1 over London. Well, it's the second baseman leading things off for the London Majors. Brett Graham Squares to bunt and takes the first pitch high from Jesse Hodges, who looked ready to field that baseball right away. He was down in a fielding position before the ball even got to the plate. 1-0. That one's in there for a strike. Another hard fastball from Jesse Hodges.
And Dan Procopio starts to lightly throw out in the Maple Leafs bullpen down there, something we kind of expected to happen. Knew he was going to be the next man in after Jesse Hodges. It just depended how long that Hodges would go. And if they can get 5 good innings of one-run ball out of Jesse on the mound here today, I'd imagine they turn it over to Procopio for the 6th and 7th. And we talked about Hodges being efficient with his pitch counts. The other thing we all got to remember is, even though he's pitching great, it is his first outing, and you don't want to overwork the guy.
Now 2 strikeouts for Jesse Hodges. He's got 1 away. Okay, we have to quickly just go to this clip. I have to show it. So this is Jesse Hodges on the mound here. Watch him deliver the pitch. Watch how quickly he gets into fielding position. Are you ready? Bang! We talked to Jesse Hodges.
It's the infielder.
We know he has a fantastic...
Used to it out there.
We talked to Jesse Hodges. We know... Sorry, guys. This is why I don't press buttons. There we go.
Yeah, and you talk... It's like... It's abnormal to see sometimes because some pitchers are so lax with it. But probably the best example that I can think of in terms of notable Major League arms is Zach Greinke. He's so good on the mound and getting in a fielding position, and he's so unlike many of the other pitchers that you see that just throw hard, and if it hits it right back at him, well, it's the infielder's problem behind him. But with Hodges out there getting in a fielding position, and he's had to do it numerous times today, and he's done it well. It's a very useful skill to have, and I'm surprised that more pitchers don't do it. When you see line drives ripped right back at you, when you see hard grounders ripped right back at you. Hodges has himself gotten 3 outs this game on grounders back to him.
We just saw Dan Procopio. Hodges delivers high. Little ground ball to John Salazzo. He fields it. He whips it to first in time for the out. What a play there by John Salazzo. And there's 2 away. Jesse Hodges loves the hustle. John Salazzo, well, it's been overshadowed because he's been so good offensively this season. In fact, one of the best offensive players in the league. His defense has been really good. And I don't think we hear it enough, but John Salazzo prides himself in his defense. He loves playing defense over there at third base.
He does, and you're right. He doesn't get the same recognition for his defense as he does for his hitting, but he's done such a good job of it this year on balls like that, especially those swinging bunt type of plays where you have to come rushing in and you have to lob a throw over to first. Johnson Salazzo is a big guy, and especially with grass like this, when it's a slow roller like that and the ball's dying, you have to be quick in, and he's found a way to be very quick in.
And there for a strike. 1-1. Toronto Maple Leafs every game have a raffle that you can buy tickets for, and we have a lot of stake in it here today. 2-1. Just outside now, 3-1 to the catcher Ruiz, who looks like he's walking around a lot better now. Both myself and Rob sitting beside me have bought 5 raffle tickets, so we're going for it again today. 3-1, oh, it's in there for a strike. Looked like it was away off the outside corner. Ruiz heads back to the box. He's in a 3-2 count.
Win another book today.
I know. So I won last time. I won the Maple Leafs history book. Swing and no, it was fouled off at home plate. Just barely getting a piece of that was Ruiz. Yeah, so I guess if I won the history book already, I'm going for a sweater, a hat, or a shirt today. Or I'll just get another history book. That'd be good too. Fouled off again. Hodges and Ruiz in a battle here. Both starting pitchers for their respective teams trying to get through back-to-back 3 up, 3 down innings. Jesse Hodges, 3-2. On the ground, just past a diving John Salazzo, and it gets down the line. Fielded out there by, looks like that's that's Ryan Dos Santos playing out there in left field. So we've had a defensive substitution for the Toronto Maple Leafs, I believe. Or you know what? No, I think that's J.J. Dutton over there in left, and Ryan Dos Santos is in center, which means that now Yuichi Ishihara is out of the game.
And we saw this the other day, too, when Dutton started the game, went 4 innings, and then Connor Lewis came in to replace him. It's getting guys innings and at-bats, which, of course, is a big thing that you need in the IBL in order to play in the playoffs when the time comes.
Yeah, both of those two players, I think, have already qualified with their ABs. Outside corner in there for a strike, but the Maple Leafs have the luxury. Yep, that's definitely J.J. Dutton out there in left field. Swing and a miss, 1-2. Byron Reichstein is at the plate. Reichstein is over 2, and he was one of the 3 strikeout victims that Jesse Hodges has taken today, and now he strikes out again. Jesse Hodges, 4 strikeouts, allows 1 base runner in the inning, and he's through 5 innings, and he's only allowed 1 run. Have a starting pitching debut as he gets the handshake from Rob Butler on his way back. Dan Procopio will come in next for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Meanwhile, Anthony Benitez coming back to the mound for the Majors. Greg Carrington's 1 for 2. He leads things off for the Toronto Maple Leafs as we welcome you back here to Dominico Field at Christie Pitts. I'm Thomas West alongside Gus Cousins. Anthony Benitez back on the mound for a 5th inning of work. How about the afternoon for Jesse Hodges. His first start, he's only pitched 1 inning, I believe, ever in his baseball career.
Yeah, he was terrific. Like, there's few other words to describe how good he was. He came in 5 innings against a good London Majors team that's riding high, coming off a couple really big wins for them recently. And, we saw he ended with 4 strikeouts, 5 solid innings, a ton of soft contact. Like, the infielders were busy today. Everyone had a ton of action, including he himself on the mound with a couple comebackers to him.
Greg Carrington, a little cue shot into center field. That one's caught by Andrew Lawrence on the run. Greg Carrington's retired, and J.J. Dutton comes to the plate. J.J. Dutton now playing left field for the Maple Leafs.
And to wrap it up on Hodges very briefly, as Procopio is going to come in the game in the 6th inning and take over for him, is he was very efficient. And in a game like this, it was his first outing. They weren't going to let him go too long anyways. But the fact that he was able to get through 5 innings, I originally had guessed either 2 or 3, because considering it was his first outing. But the fact that he was able to get through 5 allowed Procopio to really get his work in here. He's usually a starter. He can go innings too. As we see Hodges' day is done.
For the day.
He's taking a walk.
Line down the left field line by J.J. Dutton. It gets to the wall. Dutton makes the turn at first base. He's hustling for second, and he's in there standing up. A leadoff double for J.J. Dutton. Or 1-out double.
And he heard us talking about Jesse Hodges leaving the dugout and decided, I'm going to rip a ball as hard as I can right at him. And just a line drive double down the left field line. A good piece of hitting right there. And if the Maple Leafs can tack on a few more, I mean, it's felt like it's been very much in hand for them this game so far with the way that Hodges was pitching and the offense and that scoring all in that 1 inning. But if they can put up a few more, widen the gap a little bit, ease the stress of Dan Procopio when he comes into the game.
First pitch is a strike to Ryan Dos Santos. That's a very good point. Dan Procopio will take any runs that he can get in terms of run support. The Maple Leafs would love to widen their margin. It looked like they were going to start running away with this game in the bottom of the 2nd inning, but the London Majors and Anthony Benitez have settled in very nicely. Dos Santos watches a slow breaking ball catch the outside of the strike zone.
And another important part in the innings that have been eaten by Hodges and will be eaten by Procopio is you don't have your supposed best pitcher, Wellness Alvarado. He went 6 innings yesterday. He's out of the picture today. In the past, we've seen him close games for this team. So whether they turn to try and get Procopio to get 4 innings, whether they use Adam Marr if he's down there today, Ryan Wells we've seen a lot pitch on Sundays. You have some guys, but you do not have your biggest guy in Alvarado. So to get 5 good innings and not have to go to the bullpen, Procopio, Mara, Wells, earlier on in the game than you already have, it's a big deal against a London Majors team that we've said have had no trouble coming back and putting up runs late in games.
Little bouncer. That one's going to get up the middle. Ryan Dos Santos is trying to cash in another run for the Maple Leafs, and he will. He cruises into second base. J.J. Dutton scores, and it's 5-1 Toronto. And on the play, Ryan Dos Santos moving up the extra 90 feet means that Jose Venicio has a runner in scoring position.
And that's now twice this game we've seen Granner sitting in the outfield and the London Majors outfielders come up throwing and just pulling the ball up the third baseline, whether it's not getting a good grip on the ball because it's wet or trying to rush it. Skylar Janice is now throwing down in the London Majors bullpen as Benitez's day is slowly coming to an end here. But twice we've seen that with Butler aggressive sends. If those were good throws and they were right on the money, those would be close plays at the plate. Tag plays for the London Majors, but both of them were up the line. We've seen earlier on in the game when Ishihara tried to throw someone out from left field for the Maple Leafs. Tough throws, tough plays. You're not getting a good grip on the ball when it's rolling into the outfield like that, and aggressive sends, and they've worked out twice for the Maple Leafs, once for the Majors in their only run. And we talked about Procopio coming in the game next for the Maple Leafs. It'll be Skylar Janice, as we just mentioned, who'll be following Anthony Benitez today for the London Majors, who's last time pitched against Toronto as well, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so. Skylar Janice has been really good this season, and it's no surprise. He has quite the baseball resume. Drafted by the New York Yankees in the 34th round of the 2011 MLB draft. But he was drafted out of high school, playing high school baseball in LaSalle, Ontario, as the pitch is down and away. So Skylar Janice might be tough to score runs on. After being drafted, Skylar Janice went on and played independent baseball. He played 5 games with the Lake Country Dockhounds in the American Association. That was baseball in Wisconsin. Way inside, ball 3. Anthony Benitez may be starting to lose the release point a little bit as Skylar Janice starts to warm up a little bit quicker in the Majors bullpen. Benicio takes right down the middle.
And people always ask about, the level of competition, how high is it in the IBL? Well, today's a good example of where these guys come from. Jesse Hodges played affiliated ball, got up to Double-A. Anthony Benitez was in the Diamondback system as Benicio swings and misses. We're talking about Skylar Janice, who was drafted by the Yankees, played affiliated ball. Edward DeOlio, who we were wondering about earlier, who we later found out through investigative journalism that he was actually released by the London Majors for a better opportunity. He made it to Triple-A, and he was a catcher in Triple-A. These guys are good ball players.
Popped up. This should get the London Majors out of the inning. Jose Venicio is already on his way back to the dugout. And actually, no, that's the second out of the inning. Excuse me. Benicio was heading back to the dugout because the infield fly roll was called.
But the point being there is that it's so noteworthy that sure, the IBL doesn't have the recognition that other independent leagues like the Pan Am League does. We talked about Garrett Takamatsu's other team in Quebec and the Quebec League there. But they are good ball players, and they come from all around, but they are really good ball players. And we've seen it today. With Benitez starting, with Hodges starting, we'll see it with Janice. There's a lot of guys around.
Justin Mara trying to cash in Ryan Dos Santos from second base. Dos Santos had an RBI single up the middle in his first at-bat of the game. Ripped down the line, but foul by Justin Mara. Garrett Takamatsu's on deck. If Mara can even just find a way to get on base, there's a huge threat for an RBI in Garrett Takamatsu. Oh-2. Outside corner, strike 3 called. Big strikeout there for Anthony Benitez as he has got through 5 innings and he gives up 1 more, but he's giving the London Majors a chance to win. They need 4, but they're going to have to get through Dan Procopio, who's coming into the game. 5-1 Toronto. Dan Procopio comes into the game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. His first task is Cleveland Brownlee. Procopio trying to get some innings, maybe even finish out the ball game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Big swing and a miss by Brownlee. This right now will be a fun matchup to watch. Cleveland Brownlee versus power pitcher Dan Procopio. Brownlee loves his fastballs. And Dan Procopio, he can really get it up there. Here's the 0-1. It's low. That was a breaking ball that time to Brownlee. Procopio looks in. From the stretch, the 1-1.
And Brownlee visibly frustrated there. The second time he's been called for a swing on a strike, on a check swing by the first base umpire that he clearly did not think he went around.
I didn't even realize that had been checked.
No, it was a very casual strike call by the first base umpire.
1-2. Ground ball. And it gets by Dan Mara. It took a wicked hop off the bat of Cleveland Brownlee, who takes a big turn at first base, and now he'll scamper back. And Dan Mara, he saw that ball coming at him, and after it took the hop, he just put his hands in the air. He said, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. That ball also had a ton of spin off the bat from Cleveland Brownlee. He kind of just cued it off the end of the bat. So Dan Procopio is going to have to try and work around that.
And we had a perfect line of sight from it here. It was a line drive straight at Mara, and then after the one bounce that it took right in front of him, just skipped to the right underneath his right arm. Bad hops. We'll talk about them all day at Christie Pitts.
I think there was a big reason why that ball took such a funny bounce was just the way it came off the bat. Dan Mara knew he was in trouble as soon as he saw that ball coming at him. This one's hit in the air pretty deep to left field. J.J. Dutton is going to move over, and he makes the catch. J.J. Dutton had to cover a lot of ground out there in left, and he makes a nice play out of it.
And as Procopio tries to work through the sixth inning here, we just saw Jesse Hodges back in the Maple Leafs dugout, snacks and drinks in hand.
Oh, that's where he was going.
Sweatshirt on.
That's where he was going.
Relaxation mode for Jesse Hodges as he'll cheer on his team for the rest of the day in the friendly confines of the Maple Leafs third base dugout.
This sounds like a task for the Vona cam. 1-0, swung on and missed by Sterling Joseph. There we go, in the black sweater right there. Can we see the snacks? What has he got? You have some Gatorade there?
I want to say one was a yellow Gatorade, and I couldn't see the other one. This is the deep dives that we do here on Maple Leafs TV. What did our starting pitcher eat today? We will find that out for you.
Pitch is in there for a strike.
You know what? That's a question to ask him in the post-game interview. What did you get in the sixth inning?
A banana? I think it's a banana. Yeah, okay. I actually know what food is in the Maple Leafs
Got to get that potassium.
locker room. Yeah, there's a lot of high protein stuff. 0-2. Swing and a miss. Strike three. Blew the fastball by him, and I think that Justin Mara held on to a foul tip there as well as Sterling Joseph looked back. 2 away for Dan Procopio after it looked like he was going to be able to get the first out on a ground ball, and that took a wicked hop. So Procopio trying to battle through some adversity. He has to face Andrew Lawrence. And he hits a ball on the ground. This should get the Maple Leafs out of the inning. Little flip over to second base in time. Quick inning for Dan Procopio. He works around the error to lead off the inning, and the Maple Leafs lead 5-1 over the London Majors as we head to the bottom of the sixth inning. Skylar Janice is into the game, and the first pitch to Garrett Takamatsu was fouled back out of play. They just announced the raffle numbers here at Dominico Field. We lost. We lost. Felt like I was going to win a sweater today, but that's okay. The great thing is that I'm here every game, so I can just keep trying. Garrett Takamatsu behind in the count 1-2. Skylar Janice has been great so far this season, has a 3.55 ERA. Hard fastball misses the zone. 2-2 on Takamatsu. Takamatsu lines one, and it's caught at second base. What a snare by Brett Graham. That one was hit on a line out there at second, and that was a heck of a play.
Yeah, just roped by Takamatsu right at Brett Graham, and a nice jumping catch right there to get the first out of the inning. We'll see it on replay here.
Now look at this. Oh, got some air there to rob Takamatsu of a hit. Jordan Castaldo stands in, and the rain is starting to really come down here at Dominico Field. So that pitch is way inside. Doesn't make pitching any easier. This game is official, by the way, if it were to get rained out.
This has been a very quick game so far. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning. Less than 2 hours into this one. It's been flying by.
Janice looks in. That one just missed the zone. 2-2. The London Majors are on the back of 3 games in 3 days, but they've only used 4 pitchers in the last 2 games. They've had great starts from their starting pitchers.
And when you get good starts, that's how you have success in the IBL. If your pitchers go deep, that's how you win games. If you don't, you run into trouble, and we've seen that happen recently with the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, a lot of times you can just get a start, make sure your starting pitcher gives you a chance to win, and then play the game of who has the better bullpen. This one's hit on the ground to Tommy Reyes-Cruz. He picks it up, he throws high to first base, and Reichstein jumps and puts his foot right on the bag on the way down to get Jordan Castaldo. I will bet you that was a pretty wet baseball that was in the hand there of Tommy Reyes-Cruz that might have made that throw a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, it hasn't really been a downpour of any sort since the beginning of the game, but it's been consistently wet. It's been misty, it's been dripping here and there, it's still going now. Very playable, of course, but it builds up over time, especially on the grass. We've talked about it with some wild throws, as we just saw. Tough plays in the outfield, balls getting wet and just sliding. It's not the best field conditions that we've ever seen here at Christie Pitts.
Salazzo pops it up, and the catch is made in the outfield. Skylar Janice comes in and gets a quick inning. We should mention John Salazzo probably only has 1 at-bat, maybe more, left in this game. He's 0 for 4 today. He has a 15-game hit streak on the line, so watch out for John Salazzo in his next at-bat. Brad Verhoeven is going to lead things off against Dan Procopio. And the first pitch is in the dirt. If I had to guess, I'd say the Maple Leafs would be just fine if Dan Procopio can finish out the ball game. We know that he has the potential to go 5 or 6 innings as a starter.
And it'd be much needed rest for the bullpen, who I think, and they would probably admit this themselves, have been taxed quite a bit recently over the last couple weeks. With starters not going deep, over usage, you get tired down there. Everyone thinks of these guys as, oh, they can just go out and shove every single time. These dudes do get overworked. They get tired. They're not going to be as efficient their second, third time going out there in a week span. They need breaks. And so if you can have a two-pitcher outing like we may see today with the Maple Leafs, it's a big deal for a bullpen like that.
Line drive is fouled off to the left.
And on the flip side, we were talking about the London Majors earlier, just using 4 pitchers over their last 2 games. That is the epitome of successful bullpen usage. You have starters that go early on, your staff is doing well. You don't need to turn to guys, you just shut out Welland. That should say all you need to know.
Ground ball softly hit. Dan Mara has it. He throws to first, 1 away.
And in the spot of Brett Graham, pinch hitter Kane McGee will come up to the plate for the London Majors. McGee hitting .286 on the air with 6 RBIs. So Brett Graham ends his day on a terrific jumping play out at second base, and it'll be Kane McGee who takes over. I imagine McGee won't be in the game to play second. He'll likely have a defensive replacement for him. He's usually a first baseman. Out of Almonte, Ontario for the London Majors.
McGee fouls it back. Yeah, this is something that we'll see a lot from the London Majors. They will play a lot of different guys in the lineup, and they'll pinch hit guys late in the game. They've got a lot of depth in London, and maybe just now starting to put things together. If the Toronto Maple Leafs can hold on to this, they will end a 4-game losing streak, but they got a long way to go. McGee takes outside.
They do, and you were talking about the London Majors there. They have such, I mean, all these teams have big rosters. The London Majors travel with a large roster. Not all teams do. So they have the ability to use guys like this in scenarios like this where they really want to try and get something going. Kane McGee has been very good for them this year. And if he can get on base, set a chain reaction in motion of, new guys coming to the game, pinch hitters, but good at bat so far against Dan Procopio.
2-1 is in there for a strike, 2-2. So things have been shaken up recently in the Intercounty Baseball League. The Barrie Baycats are now tied, and you could probably say in first place over the Welland Jackfish because they're tied for first, but they have 2 games in hand over Welland. They're 13-5 now, and a big part of that is a 9-game win streak for the Barrie Baycats. The Toronto Maple Leafs have been part of 2 of those 9 games. The Welland Jackfish, remember how they just couldn't lose a game? Well, they've lost 3 in a row, and they've dropped to second place. The Kitchener Panthers have won 4 in a row, but it's not enough to beat out the Barrie Baycats. They're a game and a half out of first. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Dan Procopio gets McGee. The Toronto Maple Leafs own the second longest losing streak currently in the Intercounty Baseball League at 4, second to the Brantford Red Sox, who have lost 10 in a row and have a run differential of negative 112. Brantford Red Sox are just 2-18 this year. But with all of that being said, the Toronto Maple Leafs are 3.5 games out of first place. As this one's popped straight up, there's a play here, but who's going to make it? Dan Procopio is going to catch it himself, and he gets himself out of the inning. 2 good innings from Dan Procopio. The Maple Leafs need to get 6 more outs from their bullpen as they lead 5-1 over the London Majors. We head to the bottom of the 7th, and some insurance runs wouldn't hurt for the Maple Leafs coming up.
Everyone's good.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Carly, I guess just what was your takeaway? Just how obviously the team just really battled.
Welcome back to Dominico Field. Skylar Janice on the mound. Dan Mara at the plate. Thomas West here alongside Gus Cousins. The bottom of the 7th inning, and the Maple Leafs have a chance to break the losing streak. Dan Mara hits one sharply on the ground, fielded nicely there by the new second baseman into the game. That's, I believe, Kanye McGee out there at second.
Dan Battle.
Dan Battle.
Dan Battle out there at second base. We've seen him play, started last game. Opening day, I guess it would have been here at Christie Pitts when the London Majors faced us.
Want to know to Greg Carrington, who takes inside 2-0. Looks like the Maple Leafs are going to have a pinch hitter coming up as well. I think that's Ryan Burnside, as that's a 4-pitch walk. And oh no, it's Aiden McCaskey coming into the game for the Maple Leafs. McCaskey hits the first ball in the ground to third, but it's foul.
On the note of Ryan Burnside, though, I thought you were going to mention something different. Ryan Burnside beginning to warm in the Maple Leafs bullpen, just in case he's needed. He's thrown 6 innings this year, hasn't had a ton of work. 6 games over 2 innings, 6 strikeouts, 7 hits, and 4 walks. Pitching to a 7.50 ERA, not had a ton of success. But we saw him start a game earlier this season.
Kind of a similar stature between Ryan Burnside and Aiden McCaskey. What a coincidence that he just happened to be warming up in the bullpen.
Yeah.
1-1 in there for a strike. So this is interesting because we know Ryan Burnside, I don't think he was available to pitch. So I was having a little bit of a tight shoulder. Aiden McCaskey hits one in the air. This one's deep to left field, and it is gone. First of the season for Aiden McCaskey. And it blows it wide open. It's 7-1. That is the Aiden McCaskey that we remember from last season. Off to a bit of a slow start, had an injury, and now he's on the board with a home run.
And that is just some serious opposite field power there. He took a fastball away and just drove it well over the left field fence. We talk about Christie Pitts being a hitter's ballpark. He took that one the other way and rode it well over the left field fence, and it's a pinch hit 2-run homer for Aiden McCaskey. A big welcome back, as you mentioned, recently injured, and it extends the lead to 7-1 for these Toronto Maple Leafs. First home run of the game for either team. we talked about earlier about neither team needing a whole lot of power this game. Well, that's the first real display of power we've seen. And it came right off the bench in the form of Aiden McCaskey.
Last home run for Aiden McCaskey in the Intercounty Baseball League, July 17th, 2022. Pitch is inside. It will be very interesting to see what Ryan Burnside brings to the table if he does, in fact, come into this game. 3-1 to Dos Santos is outside. Speed is aboard. Jose Vinicio comes to the plate.
And I wouldn't be shocked at all if they gave Procopio the 8th and then turned it over to Burnside in the 9th, assuming the score stays the way it is now or expands even more. They would clearly like to get Burnside some work this game. What better chance to do that than against the London Majors in a game like this when you have a 6-run lead at this point, and obviously that could expand over the next 2 innings.
Or decrease.
Or decrease. Or decrease. I like to be optimistic about that sort of thing. But the way the team's been playing this last couple weeks, I certainly hope it expands. But yeah, it'll be nice to see him get some work. It'll probably just be for an inning. I can't imagine they would pull Procopio after 2 very solid innings so far. And I can't imagine they would want Ryan Burnside to go more than an inning or so, given he's just coming back from, like you said, shoulder issues, hasn't pitched a whole lot anyways, and it's a much-needed win.
Runner goes, huge jump, and Ryan Dos Santos steals it easily. It was a pretty good throw, but there was just no chance with the jump that Dos Santos got from first base. He wasn't even going on first movement there. He went before first movement from Skylar Janice. Perfectly timed up. 0-1 outside. So Dos Santos in scoring position. Jose Vinicio has an RBI opportunity, and if not him, Justin Mara is on deck. 1-1. Low and away. 2-1. Vinicio is 0 for 3, but he has a sacrifice fly today for a run batted in. 2-1, 3-1, way outside. Mara on deck, and then Garrett Takamatsu if the Maple Leafs can get that far. Vinicio pops this one straight up, but I think it's back out of play. It was pretty close, and it clangs off the bleachers behind home plate. Jose Vinicio had at bat number 100 last time he was at the plate. This is now 101 on the season. He's been an everyday player for the Maple Leafs at shortstop. Here's a 3-2 pitch from Janice. And it's lined up the middle for a base hit. Ryan Dos Santos gets the wave home. He'll score without a throw, and the Maple Leafs lead 8-1. Give Jose Vinicio his second RBI of the afternoon. And now the Maple Leafs have a good chance to roll the lineup over to Garrett Takamatsu. I think that's Pedro de los Santos that's ready to go out of the London Majors bullpen, and he's going to come into the game. So we'll have more on that in just a couple moments. 8-1, Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah, all right. Oh, man. Nice to see one of our friends on the broadcast between innings. Justin Mara at the plate. He has a runner on first base and takes way up and in. Pedro de los Santos is on the mound. And for De Los Santos, the last couple of years have been really up and down. He spent the 2021 season as one of the best pitchers in the Intercounty Baseball League. And he does it by, he doesn't throw particularly hard, but he just throws a ton of breaking balls. And he can get some pretty ugly swings and misses from opposing hitters. It's lefty v lefty here against Justin Mara. In the 2021 season, Pedro de los Santos went through the whole year. He pitched 65 innings, an ERA of 2.19. This year, a bit of a different story. His ERA up over 7.71. Pedro de los Santos, a former Toronto Maple Leafs from 2017 to 2019. He walks the first batter in Justin Mara. So Garrett Takamatsu will come to the plate. He probably won't see a lot of fastballs, but Garrett Takamatsu is undoubtedly one of the best players in the Intercounty Baseball League, maybe the best in terms of hitting.
And we had talked about it earlier with Jonathan Salazzo, and he will now get at least one more at-bat this game to try and extend his hitting streak.
Yes, that's a good point. Pitch way inside to Garrett Takamatsu.
2 batters away, Takamatsu, then Jordan Castaldo, and then the aforementioned Jonathan Salazzo. As the Leafs try to build on a 7-run lead.
Takamatsu crushes one. This one's high and deep to left field, and it is gone. Garrett Takamatsu, 11-1 Toronto.
And much the same with Aiden McCaskey that we saw earlier, just inside outing it and just taking it the other way for a line drive. McCaskey's to left, Takamatsu ripping it to right center field. Not the shallowest part of the ballpark by any means, and that was a low line drive. It was not up in the air for very long at all. And we talked about the Leafs trying to extend the lead here, and Takamatsu's done just that, ripping that over the right center field wall.
It's his first home run of the season, and that felt like it was going to happen.
Absolutely. It was a matter of time.
De Los Santos delivers inside 2-0. That was a matchup. Lefty v righty, soft thrower. A guy in Pedro de los Santos who hasn't had a particularly good year. That was a BP fastball there for Garrett Takamatsu.
And De Los Santos' first 2 batters that he's faced with Mara and then with Takamatsu there has been cumbersome of what has been plaguing him this year, which is a leadoff walk followed by a home run.
Tough play in the outfield, and sliding and making a great catch in left is Miles Miller. Jordan Castaldo just missed that pitch.
And in the case with Pedro de los Santos, we talked about him throwing so many off-speed pitches, so many curveballs, breaking balls and such. You can essentially sit on those, and if he chucks you a fastball, well, that's a gift to you because it's not a hard fastball. He's not throwing like Dan Procopio does. He doesn't throw like some of these other guys in the IBL does. He relies so heavily on his off-speed pitches that you can sit on those the way that other batters sit on other pitchers' fastballs. And that's what we saw with Takamatsu right there. He just sat on it and just drilled it. And if he throws you a fastball, great. That's not his strong suit.
Yeah, it's funny. It seems like such a simple formula for batters when they're facing Pedro de los Santos, and it has been in the last 2 years. But in 2021, it was all but that. Pedro de los Santos just pulled the right strings every single time. And the funny part was that Pedro de los Santos actually walked a ton of batters, but he was almost effectively wild, and John Salazzo's going to head down to first base, so he is not, unless the Maple Leafs tack on some more runs, John Salazzo's not going to get his chance to extend his hitting streak.
No, and just two things to base off that point. One, I don't know if you were watching there on the 3-0 pitch. Before the ball was even thrown, he was stepping way out of the batter's box as if to say, give me a strike to hit there. He was stepping out. He was not going to swing at that 3-0 pitch. He didn't even want to stand there to really take it. But two, his hit streak may come to an end. His on-base streak continues with that walk, which is something else. He's been getting on base so often, even in games in which he's not hitting home runs, in which he's not hitting doubles. He's walking and he's getting on base, which has been a major factor today, but likewise in games past, how they've succeeded so much in the middle part of the lineup for the Maple Leafs.
I would be willing to bet that John Salazzo does not know that he has a 15-game hitting streak.
Oh, not a chance.
That would be my bet. Salazzo is a guy who he's not really dialed in on that kind of stuff, I feel like. He just goes out there to play, and he loves doing it. There's some things where I think Salazzo will know how many home runs maybe he has, but this sparks in my mind because I was having a conversation with John Salazzo almost all week, because Salazzo did something last game that, I don't know this, but it could be a record in the Intercounty Baseball League for the highest home run ever hit, as there's another walk on 4 pitches from Pedro de los Santos. John Salazzo hit a ball to dead center field that was in the air for 6.13 seconds. And I'm probably saying this, and this stat has never been tracked in the Intercounty Baseball League, so you might be wondering, I don't know if that's long or short. To give you some context, the average home run in Major League Baseball stays in the air for 3.9 seconds. Shohei Ohtani this year set the record for the highest home run ever hit in Major League Baseball, and it was in the air for 6.98 seconds. So John Salazzo was 0.8 seconds off that in the Intercounty Baseball League, and the home run that was the record, highest home run ever hit in Major League Baseball by Shohei Ohtani. And John Salazzo's home run was only 0.8 seconds away from Shohei Ohtani's.
It shows you the massive power that Jonathan Salazzo has.
Yeah.
That man can pound a ball like nobody I've ever seen. If he sits on one and drives it, it's going a mile. And that's what we saw, as you're just talking about there, with his last home run.
When John Salazzo hits a home run like that, he calls them Moonies. 3-2 to Greg Carrington. Pedro de los Santos was ahead in this count with 2 strikes, but now has fallen back to 3-2 and in danger of walking his 3rd batter in a row.
And I imagine that if he walks Carrington here, it'll be Braden Farrington and his bright pink glove, who's warming up down in the London Majors bullpen. He's been throwing for a bit, so he'll likely come in to face J.J. Dutton. Aiden McCaskey.
Hit on the ground. This should get the Majors out of the inning, and it will. Out-recorded at second base. But the Toronto Maple Leafs, they open things up here in the bottom of this 7th inning. They score 6 against the London Majors and now lead 11-1. Well, Dan Procopio, the cushion has become a lot plushier here for the Toronto Maple Leafs as they lead 11-1. And Procopio will just be tasked with getting outs here at this point in the ball game. Top of the 8th inning. Austin Wilkie is going to come into the game. Wilkie takes low. Austin Wilkie has only played in 5 games for London Majors this season. Takes way inside. 5 games, 4 at-bats, 2 hits. Give him a even 3 or even 500 on the season. Three-0. Up and away, ball 4. 4-pitch walk to Austin Wilkie.
And he pinch hit there in the spot of Chris Ruiz, who we were talking about earlier. The starting catcher today for the London Majors, who was getting a bit banged up. So we'll see if Austin Wilkie stays in the game to catch, or if it's just for an at-bat.
Byron Reichstein, I think, catches. Now I'm not sure of that, though.
If that's the case, then Reichstein will go behind the plate, and either Wilkie or someone else will take over at first base. They'll flip-flop positions, but we will wait and see for the bottom of the 8th. As this game draws ever nearer to its indefinite conclusion, the Maple Leafs up by 10. We'll see if London utilizes the rest of its bench here to pinch hit to get some guys some at-bats. We've seen teams do that in the past, and the Maple Leafs have done it to an extent in blowouts, which is just get guys at-bats. We talked about the rules when it comes to the playoffs, and everyone makes the playoffs, but just to get some of these young guys. And Dan Procopio was just called for a balk there.
Can I go to the YouTube chat right now here? Does anyone know who backs up catching in London? One and 2, Byron Reichstein has a runner in scoring position. This one's fouled straight back.
And Procopio knew that he had balked there. He didn't put up much of a debate about whether or not he adjusted his hands a little bit too quickly there before coming set. The runner moves to second.
One, 2 is low, 2 and 2. Hit on the ground. Castaldo fields it, and it knocks him down, and there'll be no play. Ball took a wicked hop, and it was a hot shot off the bat of Byron Reichstein.
And with that runner reach, we now see Ryan Burnside back on the mound down the left field line, starting to throw a little bit more.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Butch, in the chat. Verhoeven also doing some catching for the London Majors, so that'll probably be who comes into the game. First and third, nobody out for the Majors. This is going to cash in a run. Pitch to the backstop, and it's 11-2.
So if that's the case, then Verhoeven may come to catch. Wilkie will likely go to third to wrap up this ball game, barring any other Substitutions.
In there for a strike two. A discouraged Cleveland Brownlee as he thought that pitch may have been inside.
And on the opposite side of the field, it'll be Braden Farrington, the well-known London Major righty, who will be coming into the game to face the Toronto Maple Leafs in the bottom of the 8th, looking to get an inning of work.
Popped up. Castaldo will have a much easier play on this, and he makes it for the first out. Braden Farrington seems to have a different colored glove every single year.
Well, today it is bright pink.
I like it. Looks really good.
Spices things up a little bit.
Tommy Reyes-Cruz at the plate, and he's going to foul one off to the left. Continuing to warm up in the bullpen is Ryan Burnside. It'll be good to see him. Ryan Burnside hasn't pitched here at Dominico Field yet. Meanwhile, Tommy Reyes-Cruz takes a strike, so it's 1-2. Ground ball. Fielded by Dan Mara. Throw to first, 2 away. Dan Procopio walked the leadoff man on 4 pitches, but since then has done a good job just trying to get the ball in the strike zone and get outs. So there will be a lot of positive takeaways for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They got their offense back. They scored 11 runs. They've learned that Jesse Hodges can bring it on the mound.
Terrific today.
That one's fouled back by Starling Joseph. If Jesse Hodges can put together outings of 5 innings of 1-run ball, if he was able to do that every time, he'd be the best pitcher.
It would be terrific. Absolutely.
On the ground to third, Salazzo, long play, throw to first. He got him. Oh, John Salazzo from deep in the hole gets the Maple Leafs out of the inning.
What a throw! Foul territory down the third base line. Whoa!
I don't know if we saw it, but John Salazzo was out of camera range down there to the left. That's how far he threw that from. He's got a great arm. Another guy who used to pitch for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll be right back. Aiden McCaskey will lead things off for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he'll face Braden Farrington, who takes the hill. Aiden McCaskey hit a home run in his last at-bat, and he smoked it to left field. Apaho taco for Aiden McCaskey.
And we've talked about it all season long, the depth that these Maple Leafs have in their outfielders. And McCaskey's just another guy, right? When you go down the list, they have so many good offensive outfielders, and McCaskey today is another example of that, coming off the bench and just launching a 2-run bomb. Not enough spots in the lineup to play all these guys.
Well, in McCaskey, you can slot him in anywhere. He'll play the outfield on the corners, and he'll also play the corner infield positions too. He can play third base as well as first.
Which is tough even in that case when you have Castaldo and Salazzo who solidify the corners of the infield. You can't take them out.
Yeah,
Dan Mara and Vinicio are solid up the middle. You are running out of positions to play really good ball players.
McCaskey hits one to center. This one's a rather lazy fly ball. Catch is made. So Ryan Dos Santos comes to the plate.
And talking about the outfielders, once again, Dos Santos, who did not start this game, who's another very good outfielder. You run down the lineup of guys, Dos Santos, Connor Lewis, Yoichi Ishihara, who started the game, Aiden McCaskey, who's now back from injury, Greg Carrington out and right. They have a lot of guys. They got 5 or 6 guys for 3 spots in any given night. And when it comes to deciding playing time, you almost got to run with the hot hand, but having that depth is so key when you can pinch run and pinch hit late in games.
Right.
JJ Dutton, another guy.
Right now, the task for the Toronto Maple Leafs is get 6 batters to the plate starting now. That's about,
For Jonathan Salazzo?
That's about would be John Salazzo. 15 games in a row with a hit. There is not that many games in the IBL. Be hard to string together another streak like that.
No, he's been terrific. But on that note, you talked about earlier whether Salazzo even knows he's on a 15-gamer or not. I'm sure even if he did and you asked him, he's the type of guy where if you asked him, he'd say, I really don't care as long as the team wins. He's such a team player in that regard that I'm sure it would not matter to him if he can contribute in other ways. Defensively, he's been terrific this game. 2 great plays. We saw one in the last inning from foul territory. Sure, the bat hasn't been there. He hasn't gotten a hit today. He's been terrific in the field. So he's always contributing. He's always finding a way to help this team win, whether it's offensively or defensively as of late.
There's a walk. So there's one. Jose Vinicio will try and keep the line rolling. John Salazzo perched on his bucket, hopeful of another at-bat. Meanwhile, Braden Farrington has had quite a rough start to this season in the Intercounty Baseball League. His ERA at 11.73. And the problem, he's allowed 16 hits over his 7 2/3 innings pitched. In his last outing, he gave up 3 against the Hamilton Cardinals. And Jose Vinicio pops it straight up. This one's on the infield. Who's going to get it? And it ends up being the third baseman for Hoven who makes the catch, except is that? Yeah. So who is catching? Brings Justin Marr to the plate with 2 outs. Mara pops it straight up again. And it's behind the plate and foul.
I say this with no certainty. As an educated guess, I believe it's Jared Lind behind the plate.
Which is a pitcher.
I could be wrong. I'm trying to base it off of the jersey number, and these lineups are not always accurate to the number.
What number do you think that is? behind the plate?
I thought. Let me pull it up here.
It's kind of hard to see.
23 is listed. Jared Lynn's number is listed as number 23. Is that him behind the plate? No, it probably isn't a pitcher going back there, but it kind of looks like it.
Oh, okay. No, it's not 23. It's definitely not 23.
Welcome to the IBL.
Wait, keep this shot here. 33 maybe? 38? 33, 38?
.38. Charles Bowman. If that's an 8.
Okay. Yeah, Charles Bowman. That's confirmed. Thanks, Steven.
In any case, it's a 2-2 count on Mara here with a runner on first.
Catch is made. That'll end it for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They lead 11-2 over the London Majors. So new pitcher into the game for the Toronto Maple Leafs is Ryan Burnside, and he faces Andrew Lawrence.
Nice to see him back on the mound. We talked about it a bit earlier. Coming back from injury, hasn't pitched a whole ton, started one game earlier this season for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he'll be pitching to Brandon Sekulovic, who's now in behind the plate to finish this one out in the ninth inning.
That one's in the dirt.
Whole new battery for the Maple Leafs this inning.
Brandon.
Infield and outfield remain the same.
Brandon Sekulovic is the bullpen catcher for the Toronto Maple Leafs usually. But he cashed in his first RBI in his IBL career earlier this year in a game against the Welland Jackfish.
Hey, if there's any time to do it, it's then.
Yeah.
And I mean, we talk about the depth on this Maple Leaf squad. It is as hard as it is in the outfield to get playing time. When you have Justin Mara and Ryan Burnside both sharing catching duties behind the plate, it doesn't matter who you really are as the next guy up. You are not going to be able to play a lot because the first two are just so good. Justin Mara starting this game, of course, and Ryan Burnside on the mound, so neither behind the plate. Evidently why Sekulovic is back there. But it's tough to get playing time on this team with so many good players.
Burnside walks the first batter he faces. And now we play the game of who's who to finish out this ball game.
I believe this is Robert Mackey.
Okay. Oh, and 2 now on Mackey.
There we go. I was wrong about Jared Lynn going behind the plate as a pitcher, but I was right about Mackey coming in now.
Yeah, that was
so
a bold take.
That was a bold. I didn't think that went through too much. Mackey's in now, though.
Fouls the first one off his leg. Or third pitch off his leg.
And if Burnside can get through this inning, A, quickly, and B, without allowing a run, it'll do so much for his own belief in himself on the mound, coming back from injury. He not originally a pitcher, but caught in Hamilton last year, now he's coming here, as that curveball is just high. It does a lot for a guy who doesn't pitch very often. We saw Burnside make a great play earlier on this season. I want to say it was in Kitchener, in left field with a jumping catch into the wall.
Yeah.
He's bounced around the field quite a bit, but seeing him back on the mound is a very good thing.
Ground ball off the chest of Jose Vinicio and held no play anywhere. Took a tough hop. And so the Majors have 2 on against Ryan Burnside. Burnside had an outing against the London Majors way earlier this season on May 20th. He went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs on 5 hits, and struck out 6. How about that for a start on the mound? Got the win.
And speaking of another pinch hitter, this is Will Pollard now in the game for the London Majors, who, as I kind of thought they would, run through some guys, get them some at-bats. As that pitch is past Sekulovic and goes to the backstop as the runners move up. So not an ideal start for one Mr. Ryan Burnside out there on the mound. No action in either bullpen. This is Burnside's inning, and they'll let him ride through it.
Yeah, even if Ryan Burnside didn't pitch, he would still have tremendous value to this team. I mean, he has been hitting really well this season, batting .353 on the year. And oh, by the way, one of his utility positions is a catcher.
Yeah, it's been night and day since his time with the Hamilton Cardinals last year going into this season with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's been incredible. He's been a very good addition for them, playing left field, catching, pitching. Offensively, he's been amazing for them. And he's become one of their near everyday guys. And I say near everyday because, like I was saying, they have so many guys to rotate through. But he's been hitting so well, it's been very hard to take him out of the lineup. He's DH'd quite a bit over the last couple weeks. And he's been a very, very pleasant surprise for this Toronto Maple Leafs team.
Line drive, that one's up the middle and down for maybe extra bases. 2 runs are going to come in to score. Pollard is going to stay at first base, and the London Majors have tacked on a couple more. It's now a 2-run inning.
And that brings the top of the lineup over. And obviously it is still a 7-run game. You're not too concerned at this point. But for Burnside's own sake out there, getting at least 1 out, he almost got that double play ball, took a wicket hop off of Vinicio's chest and bounced up the middle. But you could almost treat that as a should have been out, as that's another wild pitch, third this inning. And the runner will move up to second base.
Little bit of a stir now in the Toronto Maple Leafs bullpen. Pitch to Miller. In the dirt.
And so far from Burnside, he just hasn't been able to get that release point down with his off-speed pitches, right? We've seen a couple wild pitches, pass balls go to the backstop. There, he just bounced another one in front of Sekulovic. He's snapping his wrist down too late. That's why they're spiking so much, is you're overthrowing it. When you don't have your release point down and you try and guide it in there, what you end up doing is, as he throws another one outside there, is when you spike the ball in there, you're trying to guide it in instead of just throwing it. When you just throw it, it has movement on its own. When you try and guide it in there, you got to be pinpoint perfect. And so far with Burnside, he hasn't been. Now, you can attribute that to rust. You can attribute that to not having a lot of innings this year. But we've seen it in the past in his game against Hamilton. He has it in him. He's a good pitcher when he has it. But likewise, with much of this Maple Leaf staff, if you have it, you're good. And if you don't have it, it can go sideways quickly. As we see here in a 3-0 count, 2 runs already for London and nobody out.
And that's ball 4. So 2 runners on base. It's 11-4. The London Majors would need 7 more runs in this inning to tie things up, but the Maple Leafs still haven't recorded an out yet in the top of the 9th.
And that'll bring Charles Bowman up, who was the defensive replacement for Chris Ruiz last inning, and he'll get his first at-bat this game. Not Jared Lind.
Yeah. 1-0. Way outside. Charles Bowman looking for his first hit in his IBL career. Bowman takes up and in.
And at that time, both Zach Sloan, the lefty, as well as Adam Mara head down to the bullpen. Sloan picks up his glove, and this is just trying to have a stopgap here to stop the damage, as Burnside issues another walk, and that'll bring Butler to the mound for a chat. I'd imagine, one, this is to buy time for Sloan to start throwing as he just starts now in the bullpen, but also to not let it get out of hand so much to the point where it becomes close, and then you have to start really stressing about who's coming into the game to close it out. I mentioned it earlier, you do not have Alvarado, who originally was your closer, turned him into a long man, a starter just yesterday.
Yeah,
but with
Julian Valdez and the mix there playing catch as well.
Yeah.
Not sure if he's acting as the catcher.
Yeah, he is. He pitched the other day too. It'll be Zach Sloan who's next up, the lefty.
Oh, there goes.
If needed.
Justin Mara's running down there to go be the catcher now in the bullpen. Doesn't have his equipment, but. Bases are loaded. The Majors just need to keep the line going. Hit on the ground to first, and it's foul. Oh, man.
And you could hear the groan from the London Majors dugout there.
That's because I think it was fair.
From here, it certainly looked like it, and I mean, it's a tough vantage point. The umpire obviously has a better view than we do, but it's, of course, where the ball goes over the bag. So if it could hit fair 1 foot before, if it takes a hard right-hand turn, it's going to go foul. But the reason why I say I think he got the call correct is the London Majors first base coach wasn't putting up much of a fight there. He also had a good vantage point. If he saw something we didn't, he'd probably speak up. It's the 9th inning and the bases are loaded. If you're trying to mount a comeback, you're going to say something in that spot.
2-0. Crush. This one's deep to left field, but I think it's going to go foul. Yes, it is. Plenty of home run distance, but very well foul.
And Reichstein right there just sat on a Burnside curveball, and he left it up in the zone. So far, Burnside spiked a couple. We've seen that, but that was a curveball well in the strike zone. Just pummeled down the right field line, but a strike's a strike, and it's still 0-2.
This one's hit on the ground. Not sure if it's enough for 2. To second for 1, on to first. Double play. And that will turn things around in this ball game. A run comes in to score, so it's 11-5, but the Maple Leafs have got 2 outs. That was very well turned there by Dan Mara and Jose Vinicio.
It was in a close play at first, but that's the beauty of getting a ground ball in a scenario like that. We saw it earlier on in the game, I believe in the second inning when Jesse Hodges was pitching and he had the bases loaded and nobody out, and he worked right out of it. Soft contact is a great thing in this league, and we saw it right there.
More soft contact, but it's going to be just foul down the line at third base. Toronto Maple Leafs 1 out away from breaking their 4-game losing streak. The London Majors will break a 2-game winning streak. 0-1 fouled off by Cleveland Brownlee. It's 0-2.
And it's, as you just said, a much-needed win for a Maple Leafs team that's been on the downturn for over a week now, right? They've had their troubles pitching offensively. It hasn't been there. But a win like this should remind everyone that they are, in fact, a team to be reckoned with when they play their style of baseball that they want to, when they take pitches the other way and they take what's given to them and they advance those 90 feet, something they haven't been doing a whole lot of the last few weeks. They are a very good team, and their record after today, it'll be 11-9. Does it necessarily reflect how good they've been? No, it really doesn't. And recently they haven't shown their potential, but holistically, they've been a very, very solid team, and when you look at the stats up and down the lineup, that'll prove it to you.
1-2, this one's hit in the air to left field. It's towards foul territory, and it's just out of play. In fact, it bounced off the fence in left field, and it was actually caught out there by Aiden McCaskey. But he was caught off the fence, obviously. So Brownlee stays in the fight. Counts 1-2. Ryan Burnside trying to finish things out here for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Maple Leafs have played the London Majors in the IBL Finals each of the last 2 years. This pitch is in the dirt outside, and so far this season, they're 3-0. Against what is developing into a pretty nice rivalry over the last couple seasons.
And with a win today, they'll move to 3 games back of first, 3.5 entering today's game. That one's fouled away. And, you know, you were mentioning the standings earlier, and even with the downturn that the Maple Leafs have had, along with the rise of other teams like the London Majors bouncing back, and Welland's gone on a bit of a losing streak, is everybody so close still.
Yeah.
Everyone is so close. And in a league like this where there's no different divisions, everyone's going to make the playoffs, everyone's in it together, you battle right till the end, because all it takes is a 5-game win streak to end the season. You can jump up 3 or 4 spots.
This one's popped up, and looks like it's going to be just out of play.
And same with the London Majors, of course. They had a very rough start to the year, and they've turned it around. There's not too many independent leagues that I can think of that have the ability to have a constantly changing and shifting standings through the top 5 or 6 teams. Like, obviously, Brantford is Brantford, and they're going to compete and battle to the very end, but they are not going to be as competitive as, let's say, London or Welland or those types of teams. But the shifting in the division is just so massive.
2-2, fouled off again by Cleveland Brownlee. Putting up quite the fight, and this next pitch will be pitch number 33 from Ryan Burnside in the inning. The London Majors have been able to get 3 runs across. 5 runs on 7 hits for London. 12 runs on 11 hits, or 11 runs on 12 hits for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Swing and a miss, strike 3. The Maple Leafs move to 4-0 against the London Majors this season. They win 11-5 at Dominico Field.
Yeah, and overall, it was a terrific game. Obviously, Burnside had some tough luck there in the last inning with the ground ball bouncing off of Venicio's chest. But overall, it was a very, very, very solid game, and it should make them feel good about themselves coming into another matchup when they play back here at Dominico Field on Wednesday. Hopefully it can be the start of a winning streak, obviously, but a new part of their season, forgetting what's been a very tough the last two and a half weeks. And if you get starting pitching like you can get out of Jesse Hodges today, who has never started before, you are going to be a very tough team to beat. And so he will likely get another start. We'll see if that comes next Sunday when the Maple Leafs are back here again. But it'll be fun to watch them play again. And it's just such a much-needed win. And they've had London's number ever since the finals last year. They have turned it around, and they have beat them every single time they can. And on London's side, you got to be happy with Anthony Benitez too. Yeah, you lose the game, and it turns into a bit of a rocky one late. But a solid outing, doesn't walk a ton of guys, throwing a lot more strikes, and that's something that you need as well. If you can have a solid lefty that you can start there, there's a lot of positives for both these teams, and the score does not reflect how competitive it was early on for both of them and how there's so much improvement for both of these teams since the last time they played each other.
Great day for Jesse Hodges and the Toronto Maple Leafs. We appreciate everyone tuning in, and we'll see you on Wednesday.